reversing, right? Because your body becomes the unconscious mind and your body is programmed to those chemicals, right? All the lower vibration energies of it becomes addicted to settling for less. And you don't mean to, but because you've practiced it for so long, your body just craves those emotions. And so you really have to start with reprogramming your cells, reprogramming, and just, practicing something called stop it. You're just stopping those thoughts right when they happen and tuning into your body and your space and your five senses so that you get really present, because all of that is just linked to the past.
And it's like how manifesting and the law of attraction works is become that which you seek. So it's always told like that future version of yourself, become that future self and feel the way they feel. How would everything look through their eyes, your eyes? Because every version of ourself already exists. It's just aligning ourselves into that frequency and that path. It's hard sometimes, like, well, you look around, you're like, well,
Right. But here's the thing, right? Like, if you can't look around and feel the abundance of everything that we have available to us today, whether it's running water, right? 200 years ago, was that free? Like, or maybe even longer than that? Wi-Fi everywhere. I mean, there's so much abundance around us. If you cannot tap into that frequency of abundance, just with all of that we have available, you're not going to tap into it when you have however many X amount of dollars in your bank account. It's going to be like a bottomless well, or like I like to say, throwing a crystal into the vast universe. It just goes and goes and goes and goes, and it's never satisfied. You can't ever find it again.
Hey, Vanessa, welcome to the Awakened Heart podcast.
Hi, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here. It's so lovely to be across your beautiful face.
It is so lovely to have you across my beautiful face. And as we were saying before we hit record, 20 plus years of friendship. And we've seen each other grow and evolve from when we both met each other on the set of The Fast and the Furious, when it was called Red Line. Remember those night shoots out in Ontario?
I do. Yes.
And remember the Mean Girl episode?
You saved me.
Yes.
I felt like such a loner. I had no idea, coming from the small town that I was in, where, everybody was friends with everybody. And then, I go up to a group and I'm like, it's already hard enough to ask if you can be friends with someone or join their group. And I did that. And they were like, yeah, the Asian group is over there somewhere, I think. And I was like, oh, okay. And then you came over to me and you're like, hey, you can come join us. I just saw what happened.
Yes, I was watching that. So we were on the set of The Fast and the Furious, and the production name was Red Line. And it was out in Ontario, Canada. And must have been the summer because it was like 114
Wait, not
degrees.
Canada.
No, I'm sorry. Ontario, San Bernardino, California. Yeah. Hello, not Ontario. No, we'd be cold. It wouldn't be 100. It was like 114 degrees.
So hot.
And they were giving us like this sea breeze on like cold compresses to keep us cold. And it was like I think it was a rave scene. It was supposed to go into the evening. It was like a race and something. So I saw her and, I kind of knew about this group, and I watched that transpire, and I had her come over to where we were, and we've been friends ever since. And I've got to say, this is how long ago this is probably like 99 maybe.
Yeah.
And the moment I saw you, even before that happened, I saw Vanessa. I saw her and I picked up on her beautiful energy immediately. She walked by. I'm like, oh my God, that girl is beautiful. I might have even told you, you're so beautiful, but your energy just emanated otherworldly. You've always had this amazing quality about you, like older than your years, and a beautiful soul that you have. And we had a lot of fun too in Hawaii too. And
we had so much fun.
The Explorer and Rainbow Bright and all that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So
Jack in the Box.
Oh my God.
That's for another story, another day.
That was funny. I will always remember that. I don't.
Free tacos.
Yeah, free tacos. Well, we won't go into the depth of the story, but we
No.
all had our
Mhm.
thing in Hollywood, and Vanessa waitressed a little bit at what was that? Joe's? What was the name of the
Oh,
place?
so many different places. I was a bottle service girl, waitress, bartender, but specifically the one you're talking about,
Yeah.
Joseph's. Yep.
Joseph's, yeah.
Joseph's on
And
Monday
Matt
night.
Damon used to come in all the time and Ben
Mhm.
Affleck. And it was like, there's always like the happening spots, and then they turn into a different name like 2 years later or something. But this is when we used to go out in Hollywood heyday. And she was
Mhm.
waitressing there, and I came in and we had a lot of fun. And I went to spend the night at Vanessa's, and we ended up getting free tacos at, because you're always
Jack in the
hungry at two
Box.
in the morning at Jack in the Box after. So the details of that will be
Mhm.
DM me for the private details later on, but it was funny. Many,
Your
many
match.
memories.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure they're imagining the
Yes.
different scenarios, and it's not as bad as maybe your imagination
No,
is
not at
thinking that
all.
it is. No.
Not at all. PG 13. So yeah, so Vanessa is one. I've had Mariah McKay on here, and we were lucky we worked in the entertainment business, and we worked all the time. So we spent long, long, long hours on set. And this is before we had
Mhm.
iPhones and before we had like texting and all that. So we really spent time, 20 hours, 25 hours sometimes, and then we'd be on jobs over and over again. So we really got to know each other through the
Mm.
time we spent on set. And a lot of these friendships have been rich, and they've lasted lifetime friendships. And it's so great to see people like yourself, Vanessa, that have like, because that whole background work, the whole entertainment can kind of be a trap, and the people feel themselves stuck there without, evolving and moving on or listening to that call, because it's almost like the golden handcuffs. You're getting paid so much money, but it's
Mhm.
pretty empty. So I'm seeing so many people like yourself that have evolved, especially as the entertainment business is evolving and changing, especially with the introduction of AI. We're going to see a lot more people finding their own path. So you're such an inspiration for so many people that we knew personally to
Mm.
go and follow your higher calling, and even more people that are going to be displaced with the way the entertainment industry is changing. And you have such a powerful story where you learned, of course, we all learn from our biggest mistakes become our biggest lesson. That's what we're here to teach other people to do. And you and I
Mhm.
are both so passionate about empowering women. And,
Mhm.
so because we're all way showers in this lifetime, and we need to, like, it's time for us to use our voices for the greater good. And you are empowering women, of course, through the beautiful divine feminine energy, which is such a powerful force. Can you give a little bit? I give a little bit of our relationship with each other, but a little bit about your
Mhm.
background and what was the catalyst that led you into doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. And sentiments the same. When I saw you and you rescued me in that moment, I just thought, who is this gorgeous goddess? Like
Aw,
showing me the way. And you did exactly that. You really took me under your wing and you introduced me to the right casting directors and you to the beautiful friends that, are still lasting friendships. And so I'm so grateful. You really made LA warm and welcome when
thank you.
it is a place that can be, like that first experience I had,
Mhm.
just full of rejection.
It's
Yeah.
so
And darkness.
important. It's so important.
Yeah.
Our friend Raina is really the only,
Oh my
oh God,
gosh.
one that
Hmm.
she lost her way, unfortunately, and she found her connection back to us a little too late. And she was a
Hmm.
tragic story that, a lot of
Hmm.
people find themselves in Hollywood, in a lot of
Hmm.
places, but Hollywood can be a very dark place if you don't find the right group that can love and support you. And that's why I love bringing people into my fold, and women like yourself,
Hmm.
because like I said, I've got friendships, decades later that are still tried and true today.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart is like tearing up on the inside. I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
not to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So the start of my journey, it really was, I think, the darkness of LA, of Hollywood, that linked with the toxic relationships that I was in, the abusive relationships. And then I was just feeling so unsatisfied with the work that we were doing, right? Because as lucky as we were, and like you said, the golden handcuffs and the money was great and the friendships were great, but it really was kind of mind numbing. It wasn't fulfilling on a soul level. And my soul was just crying out for something different, something bigger. And I didn't know what that was yet, because all of this work to me was like a postcard, like I knew it existed. Um, I was always into like tarot cards and psychics, and grew up in a religious family, and I went to Catholic school and stuff. So the foundation was there, but I was an actor and I saw myself as an actor. And so the breakdown happened after leaving that relationship and being a single mother, and then jumping into another relationship that ended up being abusive as well, in and out of that for 5 years. And so the catalyst was ending that relationship, being unsatisfied with my career. I was practicing Buddhism. And while I was chanting for a girlfriend, another mutual girlfriend of ours that worked on set with us, she was going through a breakup too. So I was chanting for her. She had asked me to. And while I was chanting, um, I started having suicidal thoughts. And I realized quickly, like, I'm not thinking of suicide. Oh, I'm chanting for my girlfriend. Maybe she is. So I call her, she confirms, and then she says to me, Vanessa, I told you I'm working with a Reiki master and she's cutting my cords. And I'm like, Reiki schmeiki, what is that? Like, this serious business. Like, promise me you'll call a therapist, because I was all about therapy back then. And she's like, okay, if the cord cutting doesn't work, then I'll call. I promise you I will. So she calls me like an hour later. I have to read this vision that my Reiki master had, Vanessa. I have to share this with you. She shares it with me. My mouth is like agape on the other end. And it was an exact fight that my boyfriend and I had gotten into. So this Reiki master lived 25 miles away. And of course, I'm like, who is this woman? I need to talk to her. How did that happen? Like, I'm so confused. Um, Long story short, it's Reiki. Reiki finds you when it's supposed to. I was chanting for my friend at the same time that the Reiki master was doing Reiki on her. So our energies crossed, and she picked up on me.
Mm.
And that was the start of everything. By my third session with her, because we called, and then she called me. We talked for 4 hours. I was crying. She was telling me things about my son and my life, things that she would not know. Never met this woman in my life. And so I booked a session, and then by our third, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life.
Mm.
And then it was the heroine's journey. It took me, falling off the path, not realizing that that was my true calling. Um, Really, I was still operating from the limiting belief that I needed a man to save me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was on a mission. Not only that, I wanted to have a daughter. And so I knew, like, I know that there's a little girl, a soul that is waiting to break through in this world. I got to get her here. So, that limiting belief, though, kept me in relationships or seeking men to try to overcome this whole idea that, like, I couldn't do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I needed a man to complete me. I needed a man to build my business with, to build my life with. Um, but because I've always followed my heart, I do have a beautiful daughter now. The last relationship I was in, it didn't work out. I ignored some red flags that were there for sure. But we did have a beautiful daughter together. And, I'm lucky now that I'm able to follow my dream of helping other women get to the other side of their pain and suffering and limiting beliefs, because of the relationship that I was in with him.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny how, I mean, you knew you were supposed to have a daughter and you had one with
Yes.
somebody that you didn't actually end up with, but like I said, like there's contracts, soul contracts, and whatever you needed to
Mhm.
learn from him, and you both had this child, but he was the actual one. I mean, you've been on a journey for many, many years, and he is
Mhm.
actually one where you've had to really sit and examine this pattern of needing a
Yes.
man. And we all have that. Like I've had that as well. It's been a decade since I've been in a relationship. It's like, what the hell? And, I want a
Mhm.
man, put half the bills. That would be wonderful. And creating with a man, they just don't come. I think sometimes the universe, God, whatever you believe in, has bigger plans for us. And we just have to surrender that, that the idea for us is even greater than we can even imagine. And so
Mhm.
many amazing women I know that are so powerful and so connected, they're single or they don't have relationships, but they're creating these amazing things that are helping humanity, helping women in so many ways. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so big, right?
Yeah.
That understanding. Um, and I think it's also figuring out like, what do you want in partnership? That's a big part of it, because for so long I thought I needed the man to survive. I thought I needed the man for all of these things. But was I truly going after a relationship just because I wanted to be in one, just because I loved it? And yes, there's an aspect of me that, of course, like loves partnership, but I was just going after each relationship for the wrong reason, which then got me into relationships that I know for, bigger than we can understand, the soul contracts and such, right? Like there's no regret around the relationships that I was in. They were part of my soul growth. But I was definitely saying yes, where, sliding glass door theory, like had I said no to that person who ended up being abusive for 5 years, what would I have done? So there's always that question. But again, every relationship has been an opportunity for my soul's growth, and that is what my soul needed.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to women? I know a lot of them are in relationships that they don't feel that they can get out of. There's are narcissistic relationships where
Mm-hmm.
they are actually gaslighted and they're, treated
Mm-hmm.
so bad they think that they're the ones that are
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So outside of those relationships, just a lot of women are staying in for the comfort. Oh, I have someone, or, at least I'm not alone. What
Mm-hmm.
would you say to women? Because I've been alone for a very long time. And it's such a beautiful, I'd rather have my solitude than be with somebody that, disrupts that solitude. I mean, there's always compromise in every relationship, but so many women are in something because it's better than the other. And, we know how hard it is out there in the swiping world and the app world, but just women that
Mm-hmm.
just don't feel that they can make it on their own, or they're not listening to that inner nudging or the calling to seek something
Mm-hmm.
more. What would you say to somebody to empower them to leave their current situation
Mm-hmm.
and to lean into to something different?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And I think that I can answer that based on the perspective, like what I did in my journey, right? And there is an amazing book called Should I Stay or Should I Go? I don't remember she's a doctor. I forget her name, the author who wrote this book, but it's about how to survive being in a relationship with a narcissist. And I think it's so brilliant because it is a scary thing to leave a relationship. And whether it's financial reasons or the kids, or, you're just scared to be on your own, whatever the reasons are that are keeping you in that relationship. If you're going to stay, then figure out how to stay and be happy. Figure out how to stay and take care of yourself. Figure out how to stay and not rely on that person, because if you are in a relationship with a narcissistic person, it's never going to be about you. It is always going to be about them. So you cannot rely on them to meet your needs in the way that you want them met. Your needs are going to be met in a way that satisfies them, in a way that makes them happy. So if you can sustain that and stay healthy, amazing. But if it is like, for me, I just saw that as like the fast track to me getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I can either like actually live my life and be able to be a mother to my two children and stay alive, or I can stay in that relationship and get sick and probably not be here for
Mm-hmm.
much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I saw things,
Mm-hmm.
because it was more than just being a shell of myself, right? Which is what I was becoming, meaning like I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling all of the like the old blueprint of me was like opened up again. Like here you
Mm-hmm.
are, insecure and jealous, and your needs aren't being met. And when you talk and you try to share them, you're being berated and you're being yelled at, and you're too much, and you're just jealous, and you're just insecure, and you're just full of anger. Like all of that was coming back out again. And I'm going, but I've done so much work and I'm trying to talk and I'm having these like, like I think I'm trying to lay the grounds to have like a mature conversation with someone, and it's backfiring. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a way to stay, but just know that if you stay, it's going to be a lot of gray rocking, as they say in the world of, narcissistic narcissism,
Mm-hmm.
which just means like we talk about the weather.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
ever, yeah.
yeah, go into something deep. Well, a lot, there's different levels of narcissism, but then it
Yeah.
usually gets, the mask comes off and it keeps getting worse and worse. Maybe it's like, where they're just like everything's about them, but it can get very abusive. They isolate you.
Mm-hmm.
They can get to physical abuse, like, they take
Mm-hmm.
all your money, just really take their self-worth. I actually did a
Mm-hmm.
podcast episode, it was one of my first, and I'll link it in the show notes, where it was she experienced one of the worst narcissistic abuse. Like, she talked to
Mm-hmm.
people and authorities ever. And she finally took her two kids and like fled with $19 in her pocket. Now she's
Mm-hmm.
thriving in her whole life, living
Mm-hmm.
her purpose. Her kids are doing very well. So I will definitely link that. So that's something, I don't think that's a good advice, but as it escalates, women need to find their footing and getting out of it. But even without a narcissist, a lot of women are finding themselves like in mediocre relationships that aren't, fulfilling them heart, body, and soul. And, leaving it and finding their passion. How do you help women that come to you find their
Mm-hmm.
passion and, find their true calling and kind of like follow that path?
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of love. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of nurturing. It's a lot of being like, if I say use the word like brand ambassador, right? Like leading by example, really, truly, and kind of being that inspiration, right? And then starting from ground zero, getting really clear on what they love and what they want, and then mixing that in with the healing work. So rewiring the old program that's there, that's keeping them stuck in a cycle of sabotage or settling for less.
Mm-hmm. And in your view, how does someone overcome external circumstances to achieve a state of internal freedom?
Hmm. Meditation is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mental rehearsing, right? Because your body becomes the unconscious mind and your body is programmed to those chemicals, right? All the lower vibration energies of it becomes addicted to settling for less. And you don't mean to, but because you've practiced it for so long, your body just craves those emotions. And so you really have to start with reprogramming your cells, reprogramming and just, practicing something called stop it. You're just stopping those thoughts
Mm-hmm.
right when they happen and tuning into your body and your space and your five senses so that you get really present because all of that is just linked to the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And it's like how manifesting and the law of attraction works is become that which you seek. So it's always
Mm-hmm.
told like that future version of yourself, become that future self and feel the way they feel. How would everything look through their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
your eyes? Because every version of ourself already exists. It's just aligning ourselves into that frequency and that path. It's hard sometimes, like, well, you look around, you're like, well.
Right, right. But here's the thing,
Mhm.
right? Like if you can't look around and feel the abundance of everything that we have available to
Mhm.
us today, whether it's running water, right? 200 years ago, was that free? Like, or maybe even longer than that? Wi-Fi everywhere. I mean, there's so much abundance around
So
us.
much.
If you cannot tap into that frequency of abundance just with all of that we have available, you're not going to tap into it when you have however many X amount of dollars in your bank account.
Mhm.
It's going to be like a bottomless well, or
Mhm.
like I like to say throwing a crystal into the vast universe. It just goes and goes and
Yeah.
goes and goes and it's never satisfied. You can't ever find it again.
Right. So start small with what you already have and feel how that feels. And instead of something you can picture yourself in that spot, but you have to feel what it feels to feel grateful and feel full of abundance. Because we really are like a house with heat and
Mm-hmm.
a washer and
Toilets that
dryer.
flush.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
even like the bricks in the wall, like all the people that had to come together, like, the mineral and the rock, and then the people that mined it, and the people that, shipped it out, and the people that put it
Mm-hmm.
together, and the people that built it. And then just in our own bodies, like we are a miracle, like to even be on this earth, like everything that's happening at the same time in our body. We don't think about breathing. We don't think about the blood running through our veins and how,
Right.
we've got all these things working in our body, our stomach juices, everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a freaking
Mm-hmm.
miracle. If we look at that, like there's no way that you can't feel that grateful or feel full of abundance. Even in the worst circumstances, you just find something to be grateful and thankful for because there's always something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like when somebody, like we were talking about earlier, a friend who has cancer, there are still a percentage of the body that's healthy, right? Like maybe even 95% of the body is healthy. You can see, you can walk, you can talk, you can still feel, and focusing on all of that creates more health.
Mm-hmm. And not saying I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm getting well. I am on my way path to healing, or I feel sick. I'm healing. Thank you, my body.
My
I'm
body's
healing.
healed.
Yeah, my
Hmm.
body's healed. And you've done some, we both done Joe Dispenza's work, but you went
Hmm.
to his event. How many events have you gone to?
Just one. I
Oh,
did one.
how
Yeah, the
was
week
that?
long retreat. Oh, it was otherworldly. It
Oh,
was an upgrade, up leveling of
mm-hmm.
energy. So much love in that room. I had a heart orgasm.
Mm,
Heartgasm. My
mm-hmm,
heart just blew wide open and my whole body was feeling I was connected, elevated my level of like healing frequency that runs through my body. It
mm-hmm,
was, and he is just such a gem. I love him so much.
mm-hmm,
I had the biggest crush on him after that because he's so funny and he's so witty and he's so smart and he's so giving and so kind.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just really appreciate
Space,
him.
space, fuel the space.
In the burn.
Like my butt's killing me. Can you we speed this up?
Yeah, but when you're there in person, obviously all that energy, his energy, it is next level style of meditation.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, third eye opening, you're in the void, your body's feeling it, you're not here, you're there, you're seeing aliens. I mean, it's like pretty
mm-hmm,
crazy. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Because you have all that coherence in the room. There's like that
Yeah.
mind, that
Heart and
mind,
brain
heart and
coherence.
brain
Mhm.
coherence. And they have people from the Math Institute. Wait, Heart Math. What is that called? Heart Math Institute?
The heart map, heart
Heart Math.
math,
Mark.
heart map. I
Yeah.
think it's map,
Yeah.
heart map
So
institute.
with Joe Dispenza, I know a lot of my listeners have followed him, know about him, but he's really like one of the leading edges about how meditation and how all these things that you're experiencing that are otherworldly, how it really looks in the body. Like when you reach that state of being, how
Hmm.
the charts can go off, it goes
They
off the chart.
do.
They're just having an
Hmm.
otherworldly experience while sitting in that room. Like it's
Yep.
pretty spectacular.
Yeah, we have an internal pharmacy, as he calls it, that can create um, a stronger chemical, stronger than any man-made drug that's on the market.
Mhm. So when we say we're America, we really are.
Yeah.
And society has tried to dumb us down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we are
Yep.
truly creator beings. And that's what people like Vanessa and myself and a lot of others are trying to show us, that we are powerful beyond
We're
measure.
so
Yes,
powerful.
especially when we're unified as, in one
Mhm.
humanity, not divided upon itself. Because, we're all the same human beings. If you throw us in a fire, we're all going to burn the same. So let's all come together and work with each other. And women are really leading the path to this new earth that we hear so much about in this new era. So I love the topic of divine feminine energy, or I love when a woman is embodied of it. Like I saw you as
Mhm.
when I saw you younger, I saw you embodied. When we see a woman embodied, maybe she's not quote unquote the classically most beautiful woman in the world, but she lights up a room just from her mere presence. And we all have the ability to embrace our femininity and our feminine energy. And it's different from feminist. It's a state of being, because I believe we really need our whole masculine counterparts as well. We do have masculine energy within ourselves, but there's this
Mhm.
whole new owning our femininity, acting from our emotion, and we bring people together, and there's companionship, and there's like collaboration. That's what the feminine energy brings. And with
Mhm.
all the heating up we've seen over like the centuries of the masculine energy, we're seeing the rising of the feminine. Can you speak into that a little bit, what it means to really embrace the feminine energy and what you see happening as a collective as this new
Mhm.
energy emerges?
Yeah, so I'm embracing your divine feminine energy. I really, it's living through your heart. It's living from a place of being able to receive and to feel into your senses and resting and relaxing and trusting that things are happening even when you're not in your masculine energy, right? Because it's the balance between both. The masculine energy is when it's time to take action and strike when the iron is hot. But when you're in your feminine, it really is coming from a place of receivership.
Mm-hmm.
And so how I see that emerging, I think one way that's coming into mind, I have another friend that's a coach. I forget what the title is, but she is basically bringing period, like menstruation awareness into the workplace. And,
Is it Maggie Moon, Maddie Moon?
no,
Mm-hmm.
losing her name right now, but uh, and I think that's one powerful way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like starting to uh, align our work cycles with our moon cycles, and understanding that when we are bleeding,
Mm-hmm.
it is a time to rest, and that we are
Mm-hmm.
actually 4 times more productive when we get back to work if we allow ourselves that time to restore during that week. And so, I feel like that is one powerful way that we're emerging. And I think women are starting to step up and own their power and share their voice and share their needs and their gifts more. I really see that on the rise, and you can see that a lot on all the different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one, like what you're doing, Nancy.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta clear my throat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, we've been demonized so much in the past. Like, you couldn't even bleed. You were sent away to bleed in the tent. But that's how women were brought together, because we all bleed at the same time. We raised our children together. We cycled around each other. We nurtured and took care of each other. And, I know that you've been into the East Bali, Thailand. You're not allowed in the temple if you're on your, if you're bleeding.
Mm.
It's actually a beautiful sacred time, because like we are the portals to other dimensions. We give birth. We have life in our womb, in our
Mm-hmm.
wombs, and women are really beginning to embrace that, like the sacredness of being a woman.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I am seeing a lot more of it, like embracing the moon cycle and bleeding. And maybe women that have suffered from period, it's not a curse. It's a blessing that we're able to, we're shedding the old and getting ready for the new. So it's always like
Mm-hmm.
that death and rebirth, which is such a beautiful process. And
Mm-hmm.
so what are some of the practices that you use to keep yourself connected, and keep owning your feminine energy and your personal power, and to really stay connected spiritually?
I mean, meditation is my
Yeah.
superpower. That is my way in.
Mhm.
Making sure every day that I meditate, I like to spend time outside as
Mhm.
well, just being out with the trees. Trees are very grounding for me.
Mhm.
Anytime that I'm up in the matrix and I'm, just overcome by the stresses of my day, I will literally just start to stare at trees.
Mhm.
And then they bring me back into my body. They remind me of the abundance and like the nourishment that Mother Earth has available to us. So that's a big practice for me that is very grounding.
Mhm.
So spending time in nature, meditating, drinking water. Water is also very grounding. I do that often.
Mm. You're mentioning trees. That was what led me up to Oregon, my doing time in Oregon. I mean, there were
Mm.
some beautiful blessings of it with work and me having that whole awakening out there. But I was drawn to the trees. And I lived at the beach, Marina del Rey, Venice Beach, beautiful, like boats going out, the ocean. But I saw a vision of trees, and I saw that mist, Pacific Northwest. And I went up
Mhm.
there. I followed it. And now I'm in Michigan. I have trees out my back door. Like,
Mm.
even when I knew I needed to leave my space in Oregon, which I loved, and when I even left a marina, I look out at the trees and I talk to the trees, like, okay, say hello to the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, if my new home, and I connect through that. I've always had amazing homes. I've been so freaking blessed. Like, that's
Yeah,
been
you have.
really easy for me. And I felt the moment that I let go of my place up there, and trusted that I'd find something else. Relationships, not so much. 10 years later, hello. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I've
Mm.
always found amazing homes.
Have you
Meditation.
gotten
Mhm.
clear on what you want
I
in a
really have
relationship? Like what? Yeah. Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
so many ways, Vanessa. I've gotten clear in so many ways. And then I always try it in different energies. Like, maybe 2 years ago, I tried it, from this vantage point, maybe get on the apps, go out by myself, get off of it, work on some things, come at it from a different energy, and still not here. And I even did one recently doing the whole list of, what I don't want and getting clear on what I do want and writing out the same. I've done everything. I don't know
Mhm,
what else to
mhm,
do.
mhm.
And then I always look at, okay, well, is there something within me that is really protecting myself, that's keeping myself safe, that doesn't want
Mm,
this. But now I think I'm
mhm,
just so set in my ways. It really takes a really special man for me to he's got to make my life even better than it already is. I mean, there's always compromise in relationship, but when it comes to fundamental, like just
mhm,
what are you doing next week? Or hey,
mhm.
how are you doing? I want somebody that knows what they want to do with me, makes plans, like
Mm,
basic things, picks up a phone and calls and really gets to know
mm,
me. And that those are just something that would be a given 20 years ago. And
for
it's just a
sure.
lot really different now. So right now it's just following my passion and getting aligned. I mean, I'd love, but you know what I look at right now without getting too much into this. If I had met a man in California, would I be where I am now? If I had met a man in Oregon, would I be where I am now? I really believe I am where
Mm,
I am now because I'm home with my mom. I'm
mhm.
home spending these last years of her life with her. So, yeah. And could I settle here? Yeah, I think I could as long as I have sunscapes and find somewhere, else that I could be. But I really feel I'm
Mhm,
where I'm supposed to be. So bring it on.
mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, the trees and water, nature is such a connecting force, especially for women. And meditation, what type of meditation do you do? Do you do like 40 minutes, like the Joe Dispenza type, or do you
And
spend like 10 minutes? 10 minutes
and
is great.
writing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, scripting, right, is a big way to get grounded and a way to manifest your
Yeah.
dreams and get clear on what you want. And only a matter of time that it breaks through. Um, so variations of meditations. I do a lot of Joe Dispenza work. So
Hmm.
first thing in the morning before I even get out of bed, and then before I go to bed. So
Hmm.
I have some 30-minute ones that he has done, and then I also have the hour-and-a-half
Hmm.
meditations. Those to me are like spa day. I love going
Hmm.
in because I know I'm going to go into the quantum, and there's no other place
Hmm.
I'd rather be aside from playing with my daughter. That's
Hmm.
another way that I stay really present and in my body and enjoy is like getting on the floor and playing with toys with her like I was 3 years
Hmm.
old. It was a lot of
Hmm.
fun. Um, and then sometimes I'll do my own meditations, like just to kind of hear them and see like, okay, do these actually work? And I'll just plug
Hmm.
into something that I've done.
Hmm.
So that's always fun too.
So the ones that you've recorded yourself that you listen
Mhm.
to. So definitely
Yeah,
10 minutes every day and 10 minutes a night. It's a great way to wind out your night, or more or longer. And then
or longer.
yeah, and then like how to connect instead of your ass hurting like mine does when I was doing
Yeah.
space, your nose,
Mhm.
feel it.
Mhm.
But they work and there's a reason. First time I heard them, I'm like, why the hell is he doing? But there's a method to his madness
For sure.
and it
Yeah.
works. You know what? I had this amazing otherworldly experience once. I don't know if you'll know, shed some light in this. I had it once with a yoni egg. Like the first time I got a yoni egg,
Oh,
it was a jade yoni
okay.
egg, and I did a ritual and I like used it. And I
Hmm.
don't know what happened. It never happened again. I literally
Wow.
was, my whole body vibrated for like
Hmm.
45 minutes. It felt like I was floating on these waves. And I'm like, am I drunk? But I kept trying to analyze it in my head. Like my whole body was vibrating, like somebody was putting, it was a buzzing happening all over my body. It wasn't anything sexual at all. And
Hmm.
I felt like I was like lifted up. I don't know if you've done ayahuasca or breath work, how you feel in
Hmm.
breath work sometimes.
Yep.
But I was literally connected to all that is. And I was like, oh, I understand. I saw everything. I saw like almost
Hmm.
that pattern where you start going, you see like mathematical equations. I'm like, oh, I understand. I see it all. I didn't want to return because I was swathed in so much love. There was so much
Yep.
love and I couldn't explain it. And I'm like, I want to
Totally.
use yoni again. I want to get that
I
experience. But I never
know.
got it again. So
Ah.
what the hell happened?
You know, Dr. Joe talks about this a lot, right? Because we're always like that's what we want. We want that experience, that mystical moment where you become one with everything, whether it's
Hmm.
feeling like all the love of the universe, the pain of the universe, or ancestors that have crossed, or whatever ends up happening in that moment, or in those moments. But you can't set expectations
Hmm.
because you just never know. And like you can I've had moments where it's like I've almost gotten there and then something happens in the outside world and I'm taken out of it and
Hmm.
then you have to start all over again. And like so it's trial and error. It's just trying again and trying again
Mm-hmm.
and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again and making that commitment that you're just going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll try it again. Miss with a
With
yoni
that.
egg or whatever else. I know I had an experience when I was in Bali doing breath work, and I had actually signed up
Mhm.
to become a breathwork facilitator. It was a shamanic breathwork, and it was 2020. It was December. Of course, everything got
That's right.
canceled. So I was going for
Hmm.
my own integration for 2 weeks. I had this fabulous trip planned, going back to Ubud and doing it at the yoga barn. And then, it was over Christmas, New Year's. I was going to go to the Gili Islands and stuff. And then I would have had to gone back in the spring to do actually the training, but literally I was transported there more than, and I've done
Mm,
ayahuasca like maybe twice, two times each time, but twice. And I don't really feel the need. I always felt the call before, but I don't feel the need. I feel like I've reached it during breath work, and a lot of people can get to that state of being. I mean, Aya is like that, it's a sacred plant, and, the spirit of Aya is always with us. And I know people
hmm
sometimes it feels like they do stuff like that as a crutch to keep
hmm
getting there without,
hmm
finding their own inner resources or already accessing that which is already inside of themselves.
hmm
So, um,
hmm
so given all that and everything that you've gone through, and the women that you're working with, first of all, do you have a story of transformation for any of your clients that you've worked with?
Oh my gosh, so many. Um, Question about just rewinding in time a little.
Mhm.
Um, when you go into your meditations, do you assign meaning? Are you going in and setting an intention and saying, I'm opening myself up to having a mystical moment, and I'm opening myself up for clarity? You do?
Sometimes I do, but I've gotten away from my meditation, but I want to get back into it. Like my
Okay.
mornings, it changes my whole day when I
Hmm.
when I do that. But I have set intentions, and I've called in my guides and everything. But so you're saying to set an intention and have a mystical
Yeah.
moment.
Right. Assign meaning to it. Right.
Okay.
So assign meaning, like let your higher self know this is what my intention is. This is the meaning I'm giving to this session. And then if you're finding your mind wandering, then go back to that meaning that you're assigning
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a
because
great
you
idea.
want to stay focused on that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this is where I'm going, this without the expectation that you're going to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that fine line.
Yeah. And I've set intentions as well as like, okay, to stay very grounded and present. Is that it? Or just
Mhm.
like I wish to manifest this, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and so when you're setting your intention, because your subconscious does not understand words, right? It
Right.
only knows,
Yeah.
it speaks in symbols
Mm-hmm.
and it speaks in images, colors, pictures. So when you set the intention, you want to actually see yourself in
Mm-hmm.
action.
And the
So what
feeling
is
of
it?
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And before you answer that last question that I asked,
yeah.
flip back to I know there's writing. Do you do automatic writing or you just journal?
I
Both.
do automatic
Okay.
writing.
Yeah.
And then I journal a little bit. I love this book. You might know it already. This is magic.
Yes. Yes, I have that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm on like my fourth go round, and literally I'll look back at old books and go, oh, yep, that happened in like a
Hmm.
month.
I have to
Mhm.
dig that out. I don't know if that's one
Yeah.
that got when I moved, there was mudge pudge that spilled all over some of my books, and I had to like relinquish some
Oh.
of my books. And
Mhm.
also my my arm hurts when I write. And whenever I have to write like
Oh.
when I have to write manifestation, whatever my manifesto is, or like what I wish to
Mhm.
manifest, or even journaling, I'm just like, especially when I have to write like something like 5 times. I'm like, I have such resistance to it because my arm hurts. Like it's like
Yeah,
carpal tunnel syndrome.
I
So can you
know.
just like repeat
Mhm.
it, like verbally, like say it or repeat it,
You
or
can
is it
say it
writing?
out loud. I mean, for me, writing is really powerful. I find
Yeah.
that when I'm writing it, although when I used to chant
Mhm.
and sit in front of my altar and really tune into that frequency, that was powerful too. So speaking it out, that
Mhm.
works, right?
Mhm.
Because you're just aligning your energy, aligning your energy, aligning your energy. You're taking that moment to just become that
Mhm.
vibrational match,
And when it's
letting the
writing,
universe know.
it's like a chore. It's like, oh, how much more do I have
Yeah.
to? Because I always write that mission statement up. It's not just one sentence; it's like a paragraph. I'm like, oh, my arm.
Right.
Let me just talk it out, and then I start
Yeah.
to remember. Like I memorize it, and it's just like second nature, and I see myself there. But that's
That's
great tips.
powerful.
Yeah,
That's powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if you remember. I don't even remember the question I asked you.
Yes. Testimonials. So
Oh yes.
one woman who was in a six-figure corporate job that she hated. She really was following the path that her parents wanted for her. We started working together. Within like 6 months, she quit her job. And then another, she was also in and out of relationships and dating the wrong kind of people. After we worked together, I think we may have just been wrapping up. She met this amazing guy. He came to my breathwork class. I put my hands on him. I'm like, whoa, your energy is like the purest. Like, if I imagine Jesus's energy to feel a certain way, it felt that.
Wow.
There was just such pure love. They ended up getting married, so they're married now.
Mm,
And they're starting their own healing practice together. It's just such a beautiful journey to have watched her, really in a place where she was dissatisfied with everything to after 1 year of us working together, everything that
mhm,
she was manifesting for herself came to fruition. Another woman, some women come to me with like religious shame and guilt, and wanting to reclaim their spiritual autonomy. One woman was coming from like a really pretty strict Baptist background. And she came to me, and now she is exploring all these different modalities. She's in, what is it called? Where you're learning about like all the Vedic therapy.
Vedic.
So now she's
Ayurvedic.
like, yeah, Ayurvedic. She's following her path as like a spiritual
Hmm.
teacher. What else? Another woman came to me 7 years in a relationship. She thought they were on the verge of breaking up. And, just really low self-esteem and confidence. And 2.5 months into our program, she walked to my door, had a big diamond ring on her finger
Mm,
because she had just taken all her power back. And he saw how much growth, that she was experiencing. And he's like, all right, that's mine.
he claimed her.
Because she was no longer making it about, escaping into like, right, like I think some people think like, okay, if I get married I can hide behind my marriage, like then I've
Hmm.
accomplished all these things. And I think he was afraid of that happening. And so when he saw her start to really get diligent about her dreams, and like her energy changed.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what they always say about changes from within. So once you start changing yourself without an attachment to it becoming something else, you're just really changing it yourself and empowering yourself. The world around you changes. So the energy
Mhm.
changes around them, and it changed the circumstances and the relationship and their partner. If it's the right partner, they pick up on it. And I love that,
Mhm.
like, you claimed her, you're mine.
You're mine. Yeah. And then I have two other women. One woman was in a 9 year marriage with a narcissistic man. And after our time together, she left him.
Mm,
Now
good
they're
for her.
separated. The divorce is finalized.
Hmm.
Another woman was in and out of a 4 year relationship with a narcissistic man. And after our time together, she left him for good.
Hmm.
So it is exactly that internal change. You just start to just build your confidence back up, rediscover who you are and your truth, and you stop settling for less.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. Finding your own internal power.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lighting the
Yeah.
way for them. So, this has been such a great conversation. I just have a few more questions before we wrap up.
Hmm.
So, right now, what is lighting you up right now? Do you have a program that you're working on?
Mm.
Is it spending time with your children? Is it a trip?
Hmm. Yeah, that is a beautiful question. There's so much about life that lights me up right now. I really am enjoying watching my children grow. My daughter's 3, and it's such a big responsibility, right? Like I think about when I was a kid and how my parents were everything to me. I wanted nothing more than to spend time with them. It didn't matter what I was doing as long as I like had their attention. And so knowing that she is being programmed right now, right? That she's a sponge. I am literally coding her up at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that to heart. It's my everything. So I love spending time with her. I love watching her grow. My son, who's 16 now,
Wow.
like, he's just like prepping for work, figuring out like where is he going to go for college, and watching him develop his skills. He's into animation and comic book writing.
Mhm.
And so it's such a fun journey to watch this unfold, right? Like I used to change this guy's diapers, and now he's 16, and then he's going to be on his own. And that all really lights me up. And then helping my clients, like knowing that I'm, attracting these women into my world and the community that I'm building who need help, who
Mm-hmm.
need to rediscover the truth of who they are so that they can stand in their power and share their gifts with the world. Because, like we were talking about earlier, the world needs more powerful people that are tuned in, tapped in to that inner power, that
Mm-hmm.
remember who they are,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a grueling place out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much darkness, but I really do feel like us light workers are shining a path and things are shifting
Mm-hmm. And I like how you
slowly but
said
surely.
remembrance. Yeah, slowly but surely. And it's a remembrance. It's remembering who you are. So you're showing them who they are so they can remember who they are. And I like also
Yeah.
that you said you're attracting clients because those who wish to work with you, it's a natural attraction to you. Or
Hmm.
instead of having to finding like it's against feminine energy to grind and hustle. I mean, you still have to put
Hmm.
your work out there, but it doesn't become a hustle. And the right clients are magnetized to you to work
Hmm.
with you. And
Hmm.
speaking of that, how do people work with you and find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Vanessa Viola 5D. If they follow me, then I'll follow them and reach out. I also, my website is cosmosis.com. If anybody's local to LA, I facilitate a breathwork class every Thursday night in Marina Del Rey. All of that information is on my Instagram. I think that's the best platform to reach me on.
Where I was out there last week, I would have, and I didn't do anything
Uh,
Thursday. I would have loved to have
oh,
gone. Where in Marina Del Rey?
Cute. Right off Washington, like right by the pier. There's where the
Ah,
Starbucks is on Pacific?
yes, I
Oh,
was
I would
down
have.
there. I was down there.
Oh,
I did a beach walk and I watched the sunset, and then I just went back for an early night. I think did I even grab food that night? Thursday. Yeah, I think I just went back for. Oh, I wish I knew.
oh,
I would have gone.
I wish I knew too. It's 8 p.m. every Thursday night. That would have been
Yeah, and I was staying on
perfect.
Fleet Street, so I was staying at one of our friends'
Mm,
rentals on Fleet, so I could have just walked over there and floated back.
dude. Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely.
Well, next time, I always come back. So before we go, what is
Yep.
a message or a piece of advice that you'd love to leave our listeners with?
Mm, I think that it is, I want you to remember that you are pure creative
Mm,
energy
mm, beautiful.
and to tap into that.
And
Yeah.
is there anything else that you'd like to share or discuss that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I think it's about the question. This is kind of looming on my mind. You had asked me like, what advice would you give women who are stuck in relationship with narcissistic men? And
Hmm.
I didn't, I wasn't suggesting they stay. If there was
Hmm.
any, inclination, or if that was how I was coming across, that is not what I was suggesting by any means. I was being respectful. I just wanted to respect and everyone's choice.
Hmm.
Um, um, and just really reiterate like what a hard road that is if you stay.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I figured that was what you were saying. I saw that as well, but
Hmm.
for others that might not have, that's great advice because some people aren't ready to leave it. And like you said, find a way to be happy because you're not going to be able to. And that's much of the milder cases where they're just like not interested in you at all. But for those that are leading that, that's going down that path that a lot of them go, it's like, yeah, it's good to
Hmm.
free yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Free yourself. Yeah.
yes,
Find a
free yourself,
shelter.
freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Vanessa, this has been wonderful. And this is the last question that I always ask all my guests since
Hmm.
my podcast is called the Awakened Heart Podcast. What does it mean
Mm.
for you to live with an awakened heart?
Oh, it means being vulnerable. It means enjoying every moment. It means just savoring life and all of its complexities. It means singing at the top of your lungs and hugging trees and telling your family that you love them and crying. And it just means like embracing all of life.
Beautiful. And as you were saying that, like you said, for meditation, see it. I saw da 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 da, like hugging the trees. Yeah, saw like
Hmm.
happiness just
Right.
bounding from one event to the next. Beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
Vanessa, it's been so wonderful having you on and seeing you
Thank you.
here.
You
Thank you.
too.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for creating space, Nancy. I love you so much and for what you
I
do.
I love you so much, and I love what you're doing and what you do and who you're being. I love your beingness. All right, Vanessa.
Ditto.
All right. Bye.